I feel naked. Guns are not allowed in public due to the new ordinance. I had to leave my 2 6-shooters outside the door. And the man said I couldn't wear my hat either, out of respect for the folks in this hall. How's a man supposed to defend himself from someone sneaking up behind him to do him ill? They ought to trust me more, given my reputation as a sheriff and a U.S. Marshal and a Union Scout. But I snuck in with my Derringer and my bowie knife in my boot, just in case I decide to use them. Well, about time to get started here. I want you writers to take your notes down carefully, because this will be the last time that I talk to you. And don't go interrupting me either. Without your mustache and long hair, you don't look so wild. Seems we're off to a bad start. I did not come here to court fame, but to live in peace. But I do not promise to stand for insults, and that's not a question. This morning, when I went by the barber, I got all cleaned up, and then I went by the number 10 saloon to pick up the questions you left with the bartender. Some of you walked right by me, didn't even recognize me. And I don't wear that frock coat anymore, those other fancy clothes. When I was a scout in the Union Army, I dressed like a hillbilly. The Confeds, they never guessed it was me. I hid in the trees during the day, and then at night I would sneak into their campfires, eating their food and listening to their plans, take them back to headquarters later on. Generals, they wrote about my bravery. They said I killed over 100 Rebs and just as many Indians, added to my legend. Well, that disguise helped me then, and this new look will help me now. Later, don't go pointing me out to anyone. I'm tired of the limelight. Even with my new look, I feel like I'm on display here for all of you to gawk at like a museum piece. Of course, I don't have my long hair down to my shoulders anymore, and the mustache is gone. Agnes said I'd be even more handsome this way. Said I don't need anything to hide behind. Oh, and I don't wear that red sash around my waist. I gave it away. Actually, I wrapped it around Calamity Jane's neck last night. Of course, the long hair, it was good bait for the women over the years. And folks said that was vanity. Well, I suppose they were right. But I'm a changed man. There was only one woman in my life, and well, I'd please her any way she wants. Why, I'd shave all the hair off my head and walk around like a cue ball in a billiard hall if she wanted me to. Oh, here I go, getting off track already. It's because I got a couple things on my mind, you know, namely Agnes and poker. Some of you here, you all wrote in ink, and some of you wrote in pencil. Good thing you didn't write in blood. A lot of questions, though. I could only give you a little less than an hour before I got to get over to the poker game over at the saloon. Old Faithful, someone special gave it to me. Sentimental keepsake. Where I got it and who gave it to me is my secret. Something you headline hunters will never know. Hasn't lost a minute since the day I got it either. Except once. Got grazed by a bullet in a gunfight. Had to get it fixed. Of course, I shot that man dead. I didn't want to. I just had a feeling his next bullet would be right in my chest. Where is your wife, Agnes Lake? Oh, well, that's easy. She's in Cincinnati. I came here to Deadwood to look for gold. Same dream as all the others. But the hills around here, well, nearly empty. So I'm staking my claim at the gambling tables. Now, gambling's one thing, but corruption's another. I play an honest hand of poker. There are some who think I've come here to be sheriff. clean up the town by shooting a few desperados. No, I'm just here to clean up the gambling tables and then head on back to Cincinnati. Agnes, she says I should quit gambling. It's not an easy thing to do. Winning at cards sure a lot more exciting than panning for gold in those hills. A lot easier, too. But I will give up gambling when I head back on over to her. I'll just sit back in retirement, maybe even read a good book. Of course, right now, I read the letters that she sends by Pony Express. Let's see, I already answered this one. So many of you are interested in Calamity Jane. It's because you believe your own fiction. Good. She didn't follow me. This here neutral territory is a good place to get away from that nuisance. She has been following around behind me, in my shadow, all over the gulch, like I had a tail. She tended bar last night, set me up with a lot of free drinks and some good laughs. I may be a little shaky this morning, but she's even shakier. She's upstairs above the saloon, sleeping it off. This morning, she made an offer for me to get into bed with her. Said for me, for free. Made me sick. She's got a face, looks like it's been dynamited. Like an old rock been chiseled out of the bottom of a mine shaft by a pickaxe. She acts like a man, dresses like one too. I don't know what I'm going to do about her. She is proud to be seen with me, walking along behind me on the muddy streets, big smile, hand on her holster. Sometimes I think she wishes she was me. Why did you marry Calamity Jane, and when did she divorce you? The person who wrote this, I was obviously reading his own writing. Truth is, I never got divorced because I never got married. So just forget it. Rumors like that, they spread faster than the cholera. You writers, you're supposed to print the facts, and I just gave you some. And those of you who write those novels for those cheap gossip magazines, don't let your imaginations run wild. There'll be plenty more to write about after today. Explain why you married Agnes Lake. I don't explain myself. I don't even understand myself sometimes. Why do you use the name Wild Bill? Oh. Of course, you all know that my full name is James Butler Hickok. But when I was a young lad, I had a devil-may-care outlook on life, and the other boys, they called me Wild. Someone added on the bill. My brother, Lorenzo, he was an obedient child, and he got called Tame Bill. Not really sure where the bill came from. My parents, they call me Jim, and that's what you can call me from now on, so as not to confuse me with others who go by that moniker, Wild Bill. It's caused me some trouble. Once there were 3 Indians got murdered, and they traced the killing to Wild Bill and his outfit. Well, I never had an outfit. I've always traveled alone, lived by my own code. They accused me, but they found the real killers and let me go. Once again, after an argument, a bystander woman, she yelled out, "Good for you, Wild Bill!" She mixed me up with someone else, too. Since then, everybody's called me Wild Bill, and, well, I got to like the name, and I go by it. You know, it's funny about names. Most everyone here is from somewhere else. They get names by their deeds, good or bad, or where they come from, or what they do to make a living. Respectable folks, they use their real names, like White Earp. He was a marshal of Wichita. Met him in Kansas City. And then there's Bat Masterson, a sheriff of Dodge City, and Doc Holliday, Georgia dentist, who got sick. He came out west to heal up. But he started drinking a lot, and of course that only made him sicker. Oh, and there's plenty of other folks not so respectable. I wrote their names down here so that you could write about them. I don't really care much how. These will give you new ideas for your stories. You can leave me alone. See, there's Colorado Charlie. Of course, he got that name from where he come from. And Prairie Dog Dave, because he ate them critters. The man with the cold nose we called Blue Pete. And then, let's see, there's a dirty-faced Charlie, because his face always covered with mud, not gold dust. Eat 'em up Jake, licked his plate clean, and shoot 'em up Mike, because that's what he did to Buffalo. See, there's the pickpocket, light-fingered Jack. And Shotgun Collins, he carried that gun and used it. And, oh, yeah, can't forget Stuttering Kid. Takes him almost 2 minutes just to say, howdy. Oh, and there's Bullwhacker Joe, he's a teamster hauling with oxen. And finally, let's see, there's Hurricane Bill, because he kicked up a wind every time he twirled that whip. Oh, can't forget about Calamity Jane. She thinks she's just one of the boys. Of course, there are plenty other ones without names. Tall Texas cowpokes, dance hall gals, Mexicans with mixed up English and Spanish, thieves who stole your horse, honest homesteaders, and of course the cavalry. Well, after 15 years, hounded me with Wild Bill. Just call me Jim. Of course, some of you gave me names to slander me by, like Gentle William, and Tempestuous William, and William Severe. I didn't like those names at all. And while I'm at it, I got some complaints against some of you. I wrote down your names, too. Let's see, there's Colonel Nichols, 1865. We had that interview. I told a few lies, made up a few exaggerations, like Calamity does. But you wrote it all down in Harper's Monthly Magazine. You made me out to be a hero, which I wasn't, and caused folks to come hunting me, which upset my family back home in Troy Grove. The legend you created, why, it grew as tall as a 20-foot tombstone. But then the reporter Davis met me 2 weeks later, said you were not impressed. Oh, and Stanley, he wrote in the St. Louis Democrat that he was fascinated by me. Filled up lots of pages with lots of ink about me. It seems as though none of you can make up your minds. Some of you wrote that I was cold-blooded. Well, I am not. Never have been. I only shot in self-defense. And it was always someone else who started the trouble. Why can't any of you ever write about the kindness under my skin? You know, how gentle I am to children or the helpless. I suppose that wouldn't sell many magazines. Of course, the stories you wrote made me out to be more famous than the president. Some of them I liked, even if not true. I can't really blame you. I have been a public figure over the years, but some of you go too far. It was you, Ned Buntline, who wrote that I was murdered in Fort Dodge by a Texan. A Texan, of all things! Now that's an insult. Well, you writers have been trying to murder me for years with your pens. Well, you ought to stop it. As you can see, I am not dead, and I never have been. That's why gunslingers are always coming after me, even when I wore the badge of a peace officer. Well, if you all print lies about me after today, it'll be me coming after you. On to the next question before I get real mad. Mr. Hickok, what were you like as a boy? Oh, about the same as I am now, only not as tall. See, I got born in Troy Grove, Illinois, 1837. That makes me 39. I was baptized by my father, who was a deacon in the church. He raised us as Christians. I never really had much interest for religion. Never really found any use for it, you know. My parents, they owned a general store, but it failed, and they took up farming, which didn't really interest me much either. What did interest me and came in useful later on in life was shooting. I'd shoot at milk bottles on top of fence posts, and rats in the stable, and squirrels in the trees, and quail in the bush. Of course, my parents, they never really approved of firearms, except to take the money I got from the bounty from hunting wolves. No, the one thing really did interest me was helping on the Underground Railroad that my father ran. This gave me courage, always looking over my shoulder and providing for those scared people. I was a young abolitionist and proud to be one, but wary of those bounty hunters who were chasing the slaves. Those slaves were decent folk, more so than the white trash who hunted them. Why did you run away from home? Oh, well, that's a decent question. No one's ever really asked me before. I had two reasons. The first was a yearning to wander. I got fascinated by the stories you wrote about Kit Carson and other heroes. When I got my first gun, I started behaving like them. It was those stories that led me on to a life of shooting. There are probably other boys reading your trash now, wanting to be like you created me, dreaming to be heroes. You ought to stop poisoning their minds with your pens. You made Kit Carson my idol, but you didn't tell the truth. I met him later in Santa Fe. He was about 30 years older than I was, and well, not like the pictures that you described. He was just plain folk, like me. He wasn't very tall, and well, he was a respectable married man. I liked him, and I clung to his every word. He introduced me to saloons where I started drinking and gambling and listening to those honky-tonk sounds that make your blood pump real fast. He warned me to stop gambling. He said cards are the devil's prayer book, and gambling halls are gambling hells. I never really took his advice. No, the main reason I left was an argument I had with Charlie Hudson. He was my boss when I worked on the barges down at the canal. I was just a quiet kid, did my job, but I guess he found me easy pickings, because he was always insulting me about the way I looked and kicking the animals, so much that one day I couldn't stand it anymore, so I whacked him in the back of the head and pushed him in the canal. I hightailed it out of there real fast. I thought I'd killed him. I found out later that he was still alive and was still kicking at the young oxen. I never saw my two brothers again. They went their separate ways. I don't go back home. I'm not scared to, mind you, I'm just guilty. But I want my family to read what I've been doing, especially my mother, who's been ailing over me these last few years. I want her to take the truth to her grave. Well, maybe not the whole truth. You can even invent a few good things about me, as long as you make me out to be a decent man. Where did you go when you left home? Oh, I got a job as a driver in Monticello, Kansas, on the Oregon and Santa Fe Trail, protecting passengers and freight from highwaymen mostly. Oh, that's beautiful country there. But I had a sense of the upcoming Civil War. Being in Kansas changed my life when I signed on as a scout for the Union Army, along with those Confeds who became galvanized Yankees after the war. Of course, that's when I took up shooting again, against hostile tribes and and against the preaching of my father and the second commandment not to kill. But this was a justifiable killing, and for a worthy cause. Who stole this napkin from the local saloon and wrote all over it? No one? Must be magic. Got here amongst the other papers, huh? Well, no need to confess. I can't arrest anyone because I no longer wear a badge. Well, now these questions here, this one's out of order. I just got started on the war, and this one goes back before that time. Who was the first man you ever killed? That was in 1861. A date that haunts me to this day. My throat's dry. I just use this to clear it up. Of course, you all know about it from the Nichols drawing. He called it the Rock Creek Massacre. Had me standing on a pile of people, shooting and stabbing everyone. I guess it was a massacre, but not by me alone. McCandless, he owned the Rock Creek Station, a stopover to change horses. He hired me as a stock tender. A man named Wellman, he operated the station, but went nearly bankrupt and couldn't pay McCandless, who accused him of cheating. One day, McCandless, he came with 4 other men to take back the property. Wellman's wife, she saw them coming first, and she yelled out, "They're coming to get us, you better grab something before they shoot us all." I fired my revolver. I got McCandless right in the heart, and then I took 2 more shots at one of his men. Wellman ran after another with a hoe, crushed his head in. Mrs. Wellman, she was running around screaming like a battle cry, "Kill them all! Kill them all!" And then another one of Wellman's men, he got one with a shotgun. It was reported that the 10 men were killed that day. Truth is, only 3. Shouldn't say only. Even 1 would have been too many. I didn't commit murder. I thought I was in physical danger. I took action. I keep telling myself it was self-defense. McCandless, he wasn't even packing a gun. I made a mistake. But that was the start of my legend. I'm not going to say any more about that now. What was your highest rank as a soldier in the Union Army? The greenhorn cub reporter who wrote this ought to do his homework. He would know that I had no rank. I stayed a civilian. I didn't want the formalities or to take orders. But I took sides, and I signed on as a scout. Of course, I didn't know if I killed any of the Confederate enemy because of all the confusion and everything. The other enemy were the Indians that were on the warpath. I've got to interrupt myself. There's a story I like to tell to the barflies who surround me in the saloon. One day, about 100 Indians were coming after me with war paint on, feathers flying. I ducked into a cave for protection. I had plenty of shells, but I left my shotgun out on my horse, Black Nell. The Indians, they came in one at a time. I loaded my revolvers and I fired, and I fired again. And then I reloaded and I fired again and again. Had a pile of Indians at my feet, like snowflakes in a blizzard. That was 48 shots. None missed their mark. But I ran out of bullets. Click, click. Didn't run out of Indians, though. So I had to use my knife. Like the time I got attacked by a grizzly. Of course, I got the best of him after lots of blood from both of us. Back to these Indians. I cut one's throat and I scalped another one and I got one right through the belly. Deader than a wagon wheel. Everything was going well, but then a dozen or so more were coming after me. Hatchets raised. I dodged them real quick before they could turn me into buzzard food. Of course, when the men at the bar asked me what happened next, I told them. They killed me, of course. There, I'll keep my throat and brain clear for your questions. Of course, there was one Indian did get the best of me. A spear right through the hip. Oh, don't get your dander up. I'm not about to drop my trousers just to show you the scar to prove it. After all, this is a public place. Of course, later I had to go on shooting gunfighters who were causing trouble. All that killing, you know. Senseless. After years of seeing settlers dying from Indian arrows or soldiers dying after their legs got blown off by a cannonball, or gunfighters dying in the street shot full of holes, I'm having second thoughts about that religion my father preached. Because most men, they pray to God with their last breath. I try not to think about killing. I don't enjoy it. But there is a certain pleasure after in being the one left and not bleeding. I don't think if it's a sin to do this thing. Afterwards, there's no point in disturbing the mind. Killing a bad man is no different than killing a rat or a vicious dog. They deserve it. But killing is serious business. In a war, or at a poker table, or 50 paces away from someone who's trying to beat you to the draw. Serious stuff. I guess there's not much in my life that's funny. I like a good joke, but it's hard to tell a joke from an insult sometimes. And now, Calamity Jane, she can tell an insult what makes me laugh. Oh, we have a good time over a bottle of whiskey, most of which she drinks herself. You can't leave Calam and me alone. Are you still romantically involved with Calamity Jane? No. And I never was. Oh, maybe we were in the back of a saloon once or twice, but that wasn't romance, like violins, or only twangy banjos, or more like instinct, if you know what I mean. Since you all are so interested in Calam and me, I'll tell you the difference between her and Agnes, and maybe you'll understand why I chose Agnes. Calam, she wanted to be a proper lady at one time, wanted me to call her Martha. I told her that was too much like a Bible name, and so I asked her her middle name. All she gave me was the initial E. She told me what it stood for, but asked me to keep it a secret, just between us. I agreed, so I called her Calam for short. Of course, she knows my name is James, but insists on Wild Bill, which is no secret. It's different between Calam and me from love or from making love. She cares for me deeply, more than anyone else, I think. Even Agnes. She makes me feel good, deep inside. It's too bad she can't change. She is a drunken champion liar with no morals. She's too manly, more like a rooster than a hen. I can't have passion with her. Her hair is tucked under a man's hat. She's raucous, has a trigger temper, is always bellowing and running around screaming like a homeless cat. Oh, maybe those are the things I like about her, you know. We first met on the trail outside of Laramie. We ran into this Reverend Warren and his group on their way to Ohio. We all got crazy drunk, and Clam begged me to marry her, with Warren officiating. Oh, just for fun, I agreed, and Warren wrote it down, back page of a Bible. It was nothing but a drunken ceremony done for a joke. We were really mocking Clam, but I guess she took it kind of serious. It was a shock to me when I went into that same Reverend Warren later when he did a real marriage between Agnes and me. He'd forgotten all about the one between me and Clam after he'd sobered up. And there remains only one love in my life, period. Oh, what I was thinking about right here. Where, when, and why did you marry Agnes Lake? Oh, the where and the when are easy. The why, it's a mystery I'm still trying to figure out. Agnes, she grew up in Cincinnati with her family until a circus came to town. She was about 16. She joined up and met Bill Lake. He was a clown. And they ran away together. And before you ask, yes, they got married and they had a daughter. They joined back up after that, until her husband got shot by an angry customer. The widow, Agnes, she then took a show tour to Europe as an actress. Let's see, she was also a dancer and a tightrope walker and a horse rider and a lion tamer. Maybe I like all of those talents, or maybe I like the letters that she writes me. Not like Clam, who writes a little but can't really spell. I first met Agnes when she hired me as a guard for her performances. She fell in love with me, which is no surprise. Wanted me to marry her. I refused, because I figured that when the show was over, she'd go back east, west, where I wanted to be. I ran into her about a year later in Cheyenne. She was visiting family. I was low on funds and kind of down on my luck. And I was feeling the need to be domesticated because my best days were over and I was feeling kind of lonely. She was about 10 years older than I was, but attractive enough. So I got up the courage. I proposed marriage. We headed straight back to Ohio, where we got married by that same Reverend Warren I told you about. His memory must have gotten jogged when he saw me, because he said to one of his friends, he said, I don't think they mean it. Well, she did, and so did I. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, the honeymoon lasted about 2 weeks. To support my bride, I came out here to Deadwood, where I want to only gently inhale her name with every breath. I got out of breath with those accounts. Excuse me. I promised Agnes that I would take the pledge, and I will. Tomorrow. Yeah, I answered that one. This one here is written with a typewriter, but the words are too small. Buy a decent writing machine which has bigger letters. This one's all scribbles. I can't answer something I can't read. This one here is none of your business. You are barking up a knot. Save that one for later. The poker game's going to start soon. I got to hurry this meeting along so I can sit in my favorite chair, you know, the one with its back to the wall. The other players, they say it's my lucky chair, and they try to grab it up before I get there. Oh, poker. Sound of those chips, it's like bait, calling us all to the tables. Of course, at the beginning of a game, everyone knows that someone is going to lose, but everyone has the possibility of winning. It's better to have that hope than to not play at all. Like in a gunfight, having that strange sense of power over another human being. There is a thrill in drawing your revolver or drawing more cards. Of course, in poker, you win sometimes, you lose, but you can always play again. Not so in a gunfight. It's either win or lose, and there is no second draw. And you're always nervous. Not cowardly, mind you. Being nervous, that's the safest part of bravery. How did Dave Tutt become one of the notches on your gun? Notches? Did you get that word from one of your cheap dime novels? Dave was my friend, and his gal, Suzanne Moore, she was also my friend. We had a harmless feud when she picked me over him, but I lost interest. She was too demanding. To get even with me, she went after Tut. Well, that ended the friendship between us three right there. I didn't want any trouble, but one night, Tut said I owed him $35. Well, he was wrong. It was only $25, and I paid him. Well, he acted like a coot. He took my watch, and he said if I wanted it back, he'd meet me out in the square with Susanna clinging all over him. He was fixing to kill me. I warned him, I said, that watch is special to me, and if he doesn't give it back, that I would shoot him. Well, next morning we met in the street. Tut fired and missed, and I got him right in the belly before he could fire again. It made me upset to kill a friend over such a thing. But there was bad feelings between us. He insulted me in public. Of course, took back the watch. See, that was 1865. Oh, I couldn't shoot anything now. My eyes are going bad, and well, I got rheumatism in my trigger finger, and I can't aim straight due to the shaking from years of drinking whiskey. Why did you turn to being a law enforcer? Mostly because I got tired of being a celebrity. Let's see, it was 1866. I got appointed Deputy U.S. Marshal. The Civil War was over. I can't really understand how any war could be civil. Soldiers, they drifted, murdering, stealing. Deserters without a cause to fight for turned to thieves and timberjacks, cutting on government property, selling the logs to the railway for ties. I was sent to arrest them. See, I arrived there in 1866, where there was a private war amongst the civilians who were drinking a lot and shooting each other, mostly over women. There were tons of people coming in every day by railway and waterway. There were cattle barons and ranchers and more women to entertain them. They were good guys, like Bill Cody, Buffalo Hunter. And there were scouts like me, and there were drivers, of course not like Calam, who never was one. Oh, they really needed a sheriff, but I didn't really have the desire, and I wandered for a while. I wound up in Hays City, 1869. Now, that's where they really needed me. At the town council, they appointed me acting sheriff to clean up the trouble there. There was shooting at sunrise and all through the day, and shooting at sunset and all through the night. Worst were the Texans of the old Confederacy, who'd gone loco over losing the war and showed everybody by running wild through the streets and shooting up things. Well, I followed my conscience and doing my duty, shot 8 men in 5 months. Except for runaway juveniles who I gave a second chance to by whacking them on the back of the head with my revolver. Of course, town settled down pretty quick thanks to me. I spent my quiet time gambling as men bought me drinks just to be around me. I developed new tastes from sophisticated folks from the East. I enjoyed their company and I started to dress like them. I was hired $500 to conduct a sightseeing tour of the West. Of course, I kept them away from the dangerous parts. I showed them the tame West. It was like licking butter off a knife. I would entertain them with my marksmanship, which impressed the ladies. I really enjoyed their company. Once, though, I gave them a taste of the real Wild West when I cooked them up a meal of a buffalo tail soup and bony fish and prairie dogs. Boy, they had one taste of that and they went hungry the rest of the night. Oh, that meal was better than anything Calamity ever cooked up, that's for sure. Oh boy, I best forget about her. You know, being around those folks, that got me to thinking that maybe I was born to be sophisticated. You know, my Hickok ancestors, Stratford, that's in England, why, they were tenants of William Shakespeare. Perhaps you've heard of him. Now, he was a real writer, not like some of you scribblers. Of course, like I said, I kept them away from the dangerous parts like the saloons with the women who covered up their wrinkles with greasy makeup, and the old men, noses red, drinking whiskey, listening to that honky-tonk sounds, plumb crazy, about ready to flop into their graves. My throat and brain are too clear. I'm starting to exaggerate. Where was I? Oh yeah, 1869. I'd quit marshalling, so the townsfolks, like I said, they hired me to clean up the trouble there. Worst were the soldiers down at Fort Riley. They ignored the gun ordinance, so I had to do some shooting, restore order. But I guess the folks there didn't really like my style, and well, I lost the next actual election to my deputy. Oh, in the time I had left, I arrested men for making illegal cigars and counterfeit money, and hey, I got 50 cents for every unlicensed dog I rounded up. It was a boring insult. I didn't need to get elected, because Abilene, they sent for me, and I was once again appointed U.S. Marshal. I got a raise, $250 a month, and half the fines I handed out. It was the wildest town in Kansas, at the railhead of the Chisholm Trail. There were thousands of cattle coming in every day, and thousands of illiterate buckaroos wanting to stretch their legs after a long trail ride, fighting off Indian arrows and surviving blizzards and droughts and fires and butt-blistering labor in the saddle. I understand they wanted to relax, of course, but they went about it all the wrong way, drinking and shooting up the town. I had to do what I do, live up to my reputation. Some of you wrote that I killed 43 men and just as many Johnny Rebs and Indians. The truth is, I killed only 15 men in my whole life. And it was always someone else who started the trouble. You know, the ink is smeared on this one. I guess I've been sipping a little bit too much. You know, I never think about killing. I don't believe in ghosts or leaving the light lamp. Excuse me. I don't believe in ghosts or leaving the light burning at night. You may find this hard to believe, but there were times when others got the best of me. There was once at a billiard hall. A bunch of drunks snuck up behind me, whacked me in the back of the head with a cue stick. Well, I got 4 of them lily-livered suckers with my own cue. No need for bullets. I carry a cane every now and then to help with the rheumatism, but also as a weapon for protection, good as a gun sometimes. There are other times I'd back down from a fight so as not to press my luck. There was once a man snuck up behind me, had a gun right in the back of my head. I could smell my death. But I bluffed my way out of it by apologizing for nothing I did and buying everybody a round of drinks. Of course, generosity like that could have been the end of me. Ever since then, I always sit with my back to the door in case some drunken amateur tries to sneak up behind me. I can watch in the mirror above the bar, and then I can go for my derringer. It's a small weapon, but it makes a big hole. Why did you kill your friend Mike Williams in Abilene? It's a touchy subject, and not a question. But I gotta need to explain how that came about. That's the last of it. I'm gonna need it to tell you what may be a surprise. I wasn't always honest as a marshal. Sometimes I broke the laws that I was supposed to enforce. Like when I built up debts from gambling. I had to create opportunities for myself. I had a deal with the local saloons to collect a percentage of the profits from the gambling to keep the peace. A fella you may have heard of, Co. He ran the Bull's Head Saloon. Refused to pay me, mostly because he was jealous. I dated his dance hall queen, Jessie Hazel. Anyway, one day, Co. He was out in the streets shooting everything up. My friend, Mike Williams, he was a guard down at the Novelty Theater. He came running when he heard the shots. I told him to stay out of it. I'd take care of it. I went up to Co and I said, "What are you shooting at?" He said, "I'm shooting at wild dogs. I'm about to shoot another one." Well, I was put upon. He drew on me at 10 feet, but I got him right through the heart. Well, Mike, he heard the shots. He came running, thinking maybe one of Co's men would be firing back. It was dark, a lot of confusion, and well, I thought he was one of Co's men, so I shot him by mistake. I told him to stay on the other side of the street, but he didn't listen. I carried his body into the Alamo Saloon, laid him on the poker table. Looking at his dead face, it made me weep. All the confusion, fired by instinct. Even a bystander woman got shot. It was another mistake. The town council, they dismissed me after that. Said that they were no longer in need of my services. I guess I can't really blame them. Didn't even get a letter of thanks for all the good things I did. I took off my star. I never again wore the badge of a peace officer. Empty. Just as well. Whiskey, it does things to normal folks. It's not natural. You know, gambling may be a profession to some, but to others, drinking's a passion. I use it to forget about some of the bad things I've done, to clear up the pain in my eye. Minors, well, they get a different effect. They sit alone, drinking, pining away over the women that they left behind, mothers and sisters and wives and daughters, regretting the decision to pack everything up, come out west to look for fortune. The others were dangerous. Drifters, cowpokes, soldiers without a cause to fight for. Oh, they tried to show their bravery in a gunfight, even wanting to lose sometimes, which I guess would be kind of an honorable death for them. You have a reputation as a womanizer, which we never wrote much about. And don't go starting now. I can tell you, privately, just between us, I never really had much luck with women, except for Agnes. Oh, there were a few over the years. I could count them on my fingers. Growing up on a farm, not a lot of folks around, especially gals my age. Oh, there was this one gal, though. Let's see, Mary Ann. I forget her last name. But she was my first puppy love. Of course, you never forget your first. Oh, feelings like that I've never had since. Since sadness, I mean. Most women were, I forget, they were faceless or nameless. Oh, there was this one name I remember quite well, though, Mary Owen. I met her when I was 21, young constable in Monticello. We got along quite well, but her family didn't really take to me, and they called the whole thing off. Hurt to be rejected like that. Made me stew in my own juices. Let's see, After that, I took up with Indian Annie. White folks, they spurned me for taking up with a squaw. Well, they were no better than she was, or those slaves that I helped. Oh, there was this Emma. She was a dance hall girl that I tried to court, but she liked Bill Thompson better. One time he tried to sneak up behind me and shoot me in the back, but saw a customer wince in the mirror, and I got him with my derringer. Of course, I didn't bother with Emma after that. No woman's worth dying for. Of course, I told you about Jessie Hazel, but the town council, they didn't really approve because she was a woman of ease, if you know what I mean. Of course, neither did Co. I guess I really haven't had much luck with women. That whole business with Tut was over a woman, too. Oh, there were plenty other women trying to tell me what to do with my money and my morals. Men, they'd get dragged by these biddies to temperance hall meetings and to churches. I never really cared much for those do-gooders. All in all, I don't hate women. I guess I just don't trust them. Except for a few of those upstairs gals who are real professional, about keeping secrets with the men that they comfort. And then there's other really good women, like my mother, 2 sisters. Of course, last time I saw them, they said I was a stranger to them with my brooding, my silence. They thought I was a good-for-nothing with something to hide. There was this one other really good gal. I was staying with Bill Cody in Topeka. There was a vicious rumor going around that his wife, Libby, and I had an affair. I would never. Cody was a friend of mine, and his wife, Libby, she considered me to be a friend. She was a good wife to to him. Of course, in Topeka is where my eyes, they started bothering me from the sun. Reflections off the snow and the glow around the flame and the lamplight. But Cody, he had kind of an idea to put on a show, wanted me to be in it. Now, I know there's a question in here she wanted answered about my career. I saw it earlier. I won't bother with it. But you ought to understand that I had the first notion of putting on a show. See, it was 1870. I got the idea to live my own legend and make it rich. The show went up about a year later in Niagara Falls, New York. I was the master of ceremonies. I let somebody else do the managing. It was a spectacle of real Indians and buffalo and other animals. Of course, the U.S. government, they wouldn't let the Indians perform, so we moved it across the border to Canada, where it failed to do much business. Nobody put a fence around the field. I passed my hat, but I only got a measly $100. And then some animals broke loose, caused a panic, people running around, screaming, scared, quaking in their boots. I lost a $1,000 investment on that show. I came out west, where I ran into Bill Cody, who stole my idea for a show when he had something written called Scouts of the Prairie. He hired me, $100 a week, just to play myself. Of course, he needed me to bring in the crowds, because he had a limited reputation at that time, and everybody knew about me. Oh, he got famous later, called himself Buffalo Bill. He was selfish, always wanting the attention and the applause for himself. I took the money, said the words of the play that I never would say in real life. Some of you wrote bad things about me and my acting. Well, that's when I decided that I would start using real bullets on stage and drinking real whiskey. When I started doing what I wanted to do, the whole thing turned into a laughing comedy that even the spectators liked better. Why, I'd shoot at the feet of the make-believe Indians, putting holes in the stage and in the ceiling above the scared audience. The spotlight, it bothered my eyes, so I shot the damn thing out. Of course, before Cody could fire me, I walked off stage in the middle of the show, took my money, and I came back west. Never went back east again. Cody and I, we parted friends. Deadwood sure has changed. There were a few early comers made their fortune, but most they lost out to consumption or cholera. The miners froze to death in their mine shafts. Others died before anything else could get them from gunshots. I guess no one really has a guarantee on life. Maybe it's the wrath of God. I don't know. We didn't belong here in the Badlands to begin with. This land, it was sacred to the Sioux, and it belonged to them until Custer rode in with his 7th Cavalry and broke the treaty. Government didn't make it a real town after that. Of course, the Sioux got their revenge when they massacred Custer and 2 of his squadrons over in Montana. Can't say as I blame them. All in all, it's a safe place to live, with the sound of the wind coming down over the cliffs. Of course, you can't hear it, with the blare of the piano and the gunshots in the street sending men up to Boot Hill up on Mount Moriah overlooking the gulch. You know, since I've been back, I had a feeling that I've been marked for death. Everyone knows that Tim Brady controls the corruption in this town. He and his men, they've been getting real friendly with me, and smiling big, hiding their false faces. Always asking when I'm gonna leave. Well, I'm not gonna leave. I ain't got no place to go. I I can't do what I used to do as a peace officer. Folks say I'm superstitious in my old age. I'm almost 40. I'd like to see the new century roll in. I'll be 62 in 1900. Of course, a couple more years around here is a long time to stay alive. And you know, I don't really want Agnes to be a widow again. Well, I got time for one more question. Let's see, do you plan on shooting anyone while you're here? No. And I never planned on shooting anyone, ever. It was always someone else who started the trouble. When my friend died untimely, I never shot at any living human being again. I didn't want them on my conscience. His death, it bothered me quite a bit, and I tried to drink it away. In Laramie, I got fined $5 for punching the sheriff. In Topeka, I was run out of town for disturbing the peace. See, what else? In Junction City, I was arrested, fined $5 for getting into a fight. In Chicago, I beat up a taxi driver because he charged me too much. Last year, I was charged with vagrancy and for stealing liquor. Of course, those aren't the kind of stories you can make a hero out of for folks to read about. I was homeless till I met Agnes again. I got a feeling that I'm never going to see her again. Like it wasn't meant to be. My father, rest his soul, he'd be smiling down on me, knowing that I was trying to give up my rebellious ways and to repent for my past life. My mother, she's getting old and feeble. I haven't seen her in years and I haven't really been a good son to her. But I love her more than anything in life. No matter what's been said about me, I am not a killer. And I want her to read the truth about her runaway boy, that he's fought the battle of life like a true man. Life isn't stories, it's just life. Surviving one day after another. And not always responsible for the things that might happen without warning. I don't know, maybe I'm here to figure out what happened, what went wrong with me, why my luck's running out. I keep asking myself, did I marry for love or just security? I guess that question's just too big for my brain. Why are you all so quiet? I don't hear your pencils scribbling or scratching. It's getting late. I got to get going, get to my favorite chair. I played a good hand of poker last night. Surrounded by those usual smells of warm beer and cheap whiskey and sawdust and sweat and perfume and greasy lamps and the sound of a drunken piano player pounding out bad notes on a bunch of broken keys on a piano that's out of tune. This fella, Jack McCall, lost all he had to me. I gave him some money for breakfast. I don't really like the way that he stares at me. Rumor has it I killed his brother in Laramie. I don't know. I don't take names. I don't think it's true, but, well, he does. Well, good day, gentlemen of the press. There's winnings to be won. As long as I can get to my chair, I feel extra lucky. Don't go following me. There'll be nothing more to write about Wild Bill after today. Got to go. Time's running out. Want to know where I got it? Well, go ahead and guess.
We'll now take a brief 10-minute intermission.